Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome to my new show, The Real Daddy God Show. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you're watching me from. My name is Anastasia Macdonald, and I am the host of this new show called The Real Daddy God Show. And I am so excited to be able to do this. Hello, good afternoon, Pastor Clemcy. Good afternoon. Hi. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. It's the Real Daddy Go Show, and we are learning to be fathered by God through everyday living. But this new edition is all about today. It's all about sharing with you the why, the reason behind the Real Daddy God Show. And I'm just going to wait. Hello there. I see another person who's joined us live. So before we get into it, hello, good afternoon. Oh, the new daddy on the block. Yeah, so I said that, before we get into it, hello, Kenny. Thank you. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. I've been away for a long time from the camera, so I think it's been probably 10 months since I've done a live broadcast, so you can imagine. But anyway, I am so excited. It's the Real Daddy God Show. It's about Daddy God. But behind the Real Daddy God, what is the reason? Good afternoon, Queen Chiwe. Oh, good afternoon, Richard. Thank you for joining me live. Good afternoon, Chidima and Queen Stella. Good afternoon. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you. It's the Real Daddy God Show. Good afternoon, NS. Good afternoon. I'm feeling a bit shy at the moment. Well, look at me. It's a new look. It's a new season. It's a new season with the Real Daddy God Show. Do you like my look? I bet you're not expecting this. But anyway, so let's get into it because I honor your time. So, it's the Real Daddy God Show, and it's all about, thank you, Jinwei. She says, I look refreshed. Thank you so much. It's all about learning to be fathered by God through everyday living. We're going to be forming a new community, a new family where we're going to be on this journey together, and we're going to experience Daddy God together. So it's not just about me. It's not going to be a one-man show. It's about all of us coming together as a family, and we're going to be sharing how we are learning to be fathered by God. And in that way, all of us can be encouraged, all of us can grow stronger, united we stand, right? United. So all of us will be encouraging one another. We're going to be learning how each and every one of us is learning, is growing into the things of Daddy God and what it is to be with Daddy God. But we're not going there today, not there yet. Today is all about why. Why am I Anastasia Macdonald launching the Real Daddy God Show? Why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? Hello and good afternoon, Paul. Why am I doing the Real Daddy God Show? And I'm going to be sharing the why through the topic access denied. Access denied. So before we get into it, can I please ask you to do the usual, to share, to text somebody, to invite somebody, because you and I know how it is like we are one person away from our breakthrough. Thank you, Chidima. She says you look so beautiful as usual. Loving it, loving the new look. Thank you so much. So I want to share with you why what is behind the Real Daddy God Show. Well, this topic, it may be sensitive to some people and it may not be sensitive to other people. So I'm going to ask all of you who are there, have you ever been in a situation where you've been denied access, regarding a place, regarding an event, regarding a thing, or regarding a purpose? So can you please hit your the thumbs up button or the angry button to let me know that you have been in that experience where you have been denied access to a person, a thing, an event, and it's not only that, it's been something that you desperately needed, but the answer was no, or the door was slammed shut in your face. That's what today's Real Daddy God show is all about, explaining to you why this show. So anyway, for those of you who were with me when I did the Who is Your Daddy God series, and for those of you who were with me when I did my life story series, you would understand some of my story. You would have a little bit background of my story, and I shared with you uh, a chronically sharing with you about my dad, my mom, how I was born in the UK. So for new viewers, I would encourage you to go and watch what I've titled My Life Story series, and it's there on YouTube on one of my channels called Anastasia Macdonald. So if you go to YouTube and type in Anastasia Macdonald, I have it there, and that will give you a better understanding of who I am and where I'm coming from. But today the topic is access denied. Access denied. Thank you, Queen Eufoma. Thank you. And yes, great to have you back. I've missed all of you so much. So the topic is access denied. So um here's the deal. Yes, I was born in the UK. And for whatever reasons, my parents gave me to a white foster mother. A white foster mother. Now, what I'm about to share, it is not something I talked about in the My Life Story series or Who is Your Daddy series, but because your woman, your girl has grown and has gained more insight into, who she is, like, I feel like I understand myself better about who I am, what has been given to me, what I've been called to do. I have more understanding about my assignment. I'm now understanding the bigger picture of why certain things happened to my life, and obviously the reason why the Real Daddy Girl show. So homing in on an angle that I haven't shared with you before. So whilst I was in this foster home, my dad would come and visit, very few in between. I hardly saw my dad. When I look back, it was once in a while he would come to visit. Now, it is important for me to say that this show is not about pointing fingers at my dad or at my mom or any persons that I'm going to talk about. That's not it. It's all about encouraging you and I to look at our experiences, and hopefully we'll gain better insight where we can turn our lemons into lemonades. And that's the reason why I thought to start with access denied. So anyway, my father hardly visited. I honestly don't remember ever seeing my mom. But anyway, at that that very young age, um, I, my dad, I used to look at him as my hero. As it's very incredible about daughters and their dad. I used to look at him as my hero. He was my perfect dad, and so anytime that he would come and visit, it was the best of experience. He was my hero. He was my daddy. But guess what? As much as he came to visit, I realized that I didn't have a daddy. I did not have a daddy, and I really wanted a daddy. I wanted a daddy so bad. It's unbelievable. I wanted a daddy so bad. So anyway, um moving on, because I really want to use our time very well. So moving on, between the age of 8 and 9, my parents separated. So my mom returned to Ghana, her original place of birth, and it wasn't long before one day myself and my two siblings at the time found ourselves on the plane, and we were in Ghana. And as you can imagine, for a young person in a totally different country, and I've shared this before, it was the most horrible and intimidating and fearful experience. It was horrible. It was scary because the language, the food, everything was totally different for me. And here we were, and in this new place with mom. And from my understanding, I thought we were just going to be with mom for just a short while, and we were going to go back to the UK, be with my foster mother, because she was the one that I really knew as my mother, you know. And I would see my dad. But so I would ask my mom, from time to time, Mom, when are we going back? When are we going back? And she would reply, oh yeah, you go back soon. You know how mothers do to their children. It's not good to, it's not good to lie to your children. It's important that you tell them the truth. So my mom, then again, I'll go back to mom. I want to go back. I want to go back home. Because UK was home. You goes home to me, and I'll ask her, when are we going to go back home again? Hello, Harry. Hello, Anne Marie. Lovely to have you on board. Thank you so much for joining me live this afternoon. My tongue is twisting. It's all good to be free and real. It's all about being real with the Real Daddy God on the Real Daddy God show. So anyway, I would ask my mom and again, and she would say soon, 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 to the point that I stopped asking my mother. I just stopped asking her. Now, it was at this point that I began to miss my daddy a little bit more. Not as much as when I get to a certain point, I'll tell you. I began to miss him more, and I began to question, why is that my daddy has dumped us? Because that's how I saw it. Why is that our dad has dumped us in this place and we don't hear from him? Why? What's going on? Why is dad being mean to us? Why is he being horrible? So these were the thoughts that were going on in my mind as a child. And as I've said before, I didn't talk. I was a very quiet, timid little girl, and all my thoughts were all in my head. And as somebody else, who is introverted, that is how I process things. I don't talk that much unless it's about the real daddy God. Then I can talk for eternity. So anyway, I would wonder, why has daddy left us all alone? So anyway, through my mom's discussions, through my mom's talk back, and especially when she was angry, I picked up here little, there little, here little, there little, that my dad had remarried, and that his new wife didn't want any of us near him. Oh, you can't hear me. I'm so sorry. I'll increase my voice. So my dad had remarried, and we got to find out that this new wife of his did not want any of us near her and her husband, being my dad. That if we ever got the chance to go back to the UK, we were not accepted. And I want to share with parents that the things that you say to your children, whether it be when you're angry or whether it be when you're talking to your friends, trust me, your children are picking them up. They are picking these communications, these innuendos. They pick them up, but they may not be able to interpret what you're saying until at a later time or when they grow older. But so I would remember my mom, especially when she would get angry, she would talk about this new stepmother, and don't you ever think that you're going to get access to your dad again? That's it. You cannot go back. You don't have access to your dad. And I remember that these things that she would say began to form in my mind, and I began to develop a belief that my dad did not want us. He didn't want me. I would never see my dad again. And what made matters worse was the fact that I never heard from my dad. So the time we went to Ghana, I was 9 years old. My brother was 8, and my sister at the time, the third one, she was, I think, 5 years old. And I never heard from my dad until I returned to the UK 1991, I believe it was. 1991. Hello, Morris. When I returned to the UK, when I made attempts to contact him. So just imagine, for 20 years, 20 good years, I never heard from dad. Now, when a child doesn't hear from their dad for 20 years, what does that say to the child? what is forming in their mindset, what belief systems are forming in their mindsets. And especially when you're hearing from your mom over and over again that your dad is now remarried and his wife says she doesn't want you there. When you're hearing this over and again, so you've got two things that are forming in my mind. So the ones that I'm hearing from my mom, God bless her soul, she passed away in February this year. So I'm picking that from her, and then I'm picking what you call it, the fact that dad um is not contacting us. Exactly, he doesn't want me. He doesn't want me. So now to fast forward um, to 1991, um, I was newly married, and I came back to the UK, and this is where it becomes a little more, what do you call it? I came back to the UK, and I was still desperate to know my dad. I really wanted my dad. And then again, I was scared. I was scared, to hook up my dad. Actually, I have just even forgotten a very important piece that I shared. So, I beg your pardon. Obviously, when you're recounting these things, they're quite able. So please bear with me. I'm going to go back again, go back to when I'm in Ghana. So when I was in secondary school, secondary school, boarding school, you know how it is in boarding school. I don't know about Nigeria, but in Ghana, where we have the secondary schools, they are far, far away, and they're in the middle of nowhere. They're like in a place like a forest, And I remember in boarding school, I was experiencing so much deep pain. I wanted my dad, and the reason why the pain became so unbearable was that during the weekends, that's where the mums and the dads will come and visit their children with all the provision and all the rest. Now, for reasons best, because my mom was a single mother at the time, and she was going through a lot of struggles and hardships, so she couldn't come. My mom actually never visited me when I was in boarding school. I was just there by myself. And so when I would see these dads, especially the dads, when they come and see them visiting their children, it used to fill me with so much pain. It was as if a dagger, it was as if a dagger had been put in my heart. And we introverted people, we don't know how to express us. We don't know how to reveal the way how we are feeling. So most of my feelings were introverted as well. So I will be crying inside. I mean, you could look at me and you will know that I'm crying. So I would yes, there was visiting days, Queen Chiwi, those visiting days. Yes. So I would see on Saturdays, you will be in the dorm and they'll say so and so, oh, your dad's come, and they'll be go happily, oh, my dad's come, and so visitors all the time. But there was nobody to visit Anastasia. There was nobody to visit Anastasia. And so I so much cried for my daddy. Now, by this time, I had been, on and off talking to my mom that, please, can you at least find my dad's address, so that at least I can write to him. But don't forget, bear in mind, she told me time and time again that your stepmother doesn't want you, so why are you wasting your time? They don't want you there. Your dad is not looking after you. Yeah. And three of us at the time, our dad never fended for us. My dad was a single mother, and she was struggling to raise up, three children who had come from the UK. So you just try to imagine, for those of you who are parents, and those were the days that people hardly go, or hardly people hardly went to abroad. It was a big thing if you could go to abroad. It was only the rich people that went abroad. So we coming from the UK to Ghana and being in this totally different environment, and it was just horrible. It was just totally, totally horrible. And so I will bug my mom. And so, I don't know how, I don't know what, but the long and the short is that my mom got my dad's address. So let me just go back to secondary school now. Let me go back to the secondary school. So one day, in one of my desperate situations, anger, I said to myself, you know what? I don't care what happens. I'm going to write to my dad. And I have the letter here, and I will explain to you in the next session how I got this letter. So I did write to my dad, and I said, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to write to him, and if he gets the letter, that's it's fine. If he doesn't get the letter, then that's another thing. But I am going to write this letter and hopefully pray that he will get it. So as I can't remember how old I was, maybe 13 or 12, 13, 14. I wrote a very emotional and very frustrated anger that, dear daddy, why have you abandoned me? Why have you left me? Do you know how much I'm suffering? Why this and why that? And those days it was airmail. Good afternoon, Ernest. It was the airmail system. The blue thing, the blue letter that we used to write. So I sent it off, and that was it. So now to fast forward to what do you call it? To I'm married. I got married when I was 28, and I came back into the UK in 1991. 1991 this time. So by this time, a lot has happened. I know that dad doesn't want me. My stepmother doesn't want me. By this time, I'd formed this thing in my mind that daddies don't want their girls. Daddy don't love their children. But I said to myself, one day we're going for a wedding, and with my husband, and actually I think it was his brother. And where the wedding was being held, surprise, surprise, was in the borough of where my dad lived. So I said to my hubby, you know what? Why don't we go and visit my dad? Why don't we go and visit him? And he said, yeah, let's go. So we went. And honestly, I was shaking inside because of what was the stories that I'd heard about her. I was shaking inside. Yes, Susan, yes, the envelope with the white, red, and blue stripe. You got it. I was looking for it, but I couldn't find it. Yeah. So we generally went to my dad's address, his home, and I think it was my husband that knocked on the door. And so knocked on the door, and this woman came out. As my dad's wife came out, my stepmother, she came out, and then she immediately recognized me, and she said very curtly, what do you want? And I said, well, I want to see my dad. I'm here to see my dad, Mr. Ting. My dad's called Mr. Ting. I want to come and see my dad. And she looked at me and she said, your dad is asleep. And then she turned around, walked through her door, and shut the door. Access denied. Guys, at this time I was about, let me see, I think I was about I'm trying to remember. I think I was about 30 around when this thing happened. I think so, around when I was 30. Do you know what it feels like to have all these years been told you cannot have access to your daddy, and then to gain courage, because I was scared of this woman. To gain courage, go to his address. I've never shared this, but go to his address, and then the wife to come out, recognize. Obviously, I look at my dad. She knows, obviously my dad's got pictures of me, and then to be told by this woman that your dad is asleep, turn around, get into her door, shut it, and case closed. That's it. That's it. You ain't going to see your dad. You ain't going to see your dad. Do you know what it feels like having come this far? To come this far, to stand right in front of that door that I would have access to my dad. That door. And don't forget, kings and queens, or ladies and gentlemen, it's been about 20 years. The last time I saw my dad was when I was 9. And I think, like I said, I'll run about 30. And for that woman to slam that door in our faces and say, your dad is asleep, I wasn't allowed to see my dad. Do you know what that does to a person? When all these years. So I had to, cut my losses, get back in the car, and make our way home. It was the most devastating experience for me. It was the most devastating. And let me tell you this. I haven't been to my dad's address since then. I don't even know what his house looks like inside. Yes, Topsy. Yes, think of Topsy. My dad, with all due respect, unfortunately, he's a slave. He's a slave to that woman. So if I'm going to say that I know what the inside of my father's house looked like, I cannot tell you, because I don't know. I've never been inside. I've never been inside that house, and I've never gone never gone back. I've never been back. And so with much heartbreak, I had to come back home and realize that Anastasia, it still stands access denied. I want to pause here and ask you, my viewers, have you been in such a situation where you've been denied access, maybe to a course, maybe to university, maybe it's to your estranged father, just like me, maybe it's to a mother, maybe you've grown up and found that this mother that has mothered you actually is not your mother, but your real mother is somewhere else, and that you've made efforts to go and find this real mother of yours, only to be slapped in the face and told by this real mother of yours that I don't want to see you. I don't want to know you. I don't want to know you. Or it's been a case where you just needed this one mark to get into whatever it is that you want to study. All of us in our lives have experienced where the door has been slammed in our faces, and some are more painful than the others. But I'm here to to share with you and to say to you that it doesn't matter how painful or deep or the door that may have been slammed in your face. It doesn't matter what may have happened to you. The deeper the pain, the greater the glory. The deeper the pain, the greater the glory. For those of you who are, for those of you who are joining me live this afternoon, my name is Anastasia Macdonald, and I'm starting this new program called The Real Daddy God Show, and it's all about learning to be fathered by God through everyday living. And I'm discussing this topic called access denied, where my whole experience was I was denied access. Or let's say, let me not the whole, but pretty much of my whole life, I have been denied access to my own father. Well, I cannot, if I want to take my children and go and visit my father, I cannot go there because of his wife. I cannot get up this afternoon and say, I want to go and see daddy. I don't know. I don't have a daddy. I have a daddy, but I don't have a daddy. I have a daddy, but I don't have a daddy. This is part one. So this is what happened. I went back home and I began to accept that, what? It is what it is. It is what it is. You're not going to have a daddy. So anyway, Queen Chiwe says, I hope it's actually your father. Let me read some of your comments here. Let's read some of the comments so they can share these. Okay, so we have Morris here who says, I know what you're saying. I would love to hear, Morris, your experience. If you could comment down below and share with us what your experience is, so that we could encourage other people. Harry Pearl says, I'm sorry to hear this. Queen Chiwe says, I can feel you, Queen Anastasia. I was a product of boarding school. I hated boarding school with a passion, kings and queens. And it says, hello, Queen Anastasia. And then this strange thing. Queen Euphemia says it's heartbreaking experience. Morris says, oh my God, very painful. And then Queen Topsy says, can you imagine your dad is a slave? I think I read that. Queen Anne Marie says, that was heartless. Sorry you had to go through that. And yeah, and Queen Topsy says, Queen Anne says, I totally understand what you're talking about, but mine happened in another way. Oh God, I hated men for this, but I thank God now. Yeah. So yeah. Um, so anyway, to fast forward, so I began to pray. I'm a Christian at this time. I began to pray and then ask Daddy God, to open a way to touch my father's heart, to begin to touch his heart, and to change his ways. And like I'm saying here, I'm not here to point fingers at my dad, or to point fingers at my mom, or to say that it was my dad's fault, their marriage or the relationship, or it was my mom's fault. All I know that each one of them had issues that they didn't deal with. They didn't deal with the issues, and it spilled heavily on we the children, and we are the ones that suffered the end. So it's 30 minutes. I don't really want to take much of your time, so I think I want to end here. I didn't want to make it 30 minutes, and in the next session I am going to explain to you what happened after I had been told access denied. And you're going to hear obviously a very a very good story. Daddy God is able to make um, lemonade out lemonade out of lemon. You know that lemons are bitter, but he's able to turn your most painful experiences. Honestly, what I'm doing today, I never knew that he would turn this deepest pain of mine, the deepest pain of not knowing a daddy, not having a daddy, that he would turn it into a wellspring of joy and the most wonderful ministry and calling that he's given me. Obviously, the real Daddy God show. I never knew that. I would never imagine in my whole wide world that show. Guys, you don't know that your deepest pain actually is a pointer to your greatest ministry. You don't know. So I just want to encourage all of you. Oh, sorry, there was a slide was there. I just want to encourage you to know that yes, your deepest pain can become your greatest ministry. So I'm going to end it here, and then do the part 2 of what really happened. Did I get to see my dad again? Have I seen my dad again? Have I been able to gain contact? Do I have a relationship with him? Is it all good? Or is it bad? Do I have a relationship with my stepmother? Please join me next week for part 2 of Access Denied. And this is the Real Daddy God Show. I'm so excited. And it's all about learning how we are being fathered by God through everyday living as a community. Not just me. It's going to be about all of us, how we share our journeys as sisters and brothers, and we can encourage ourselves to grow more and more in Daddy God's love, and to look more like him and grow more like him. And so please share this story, because you don't know. I'm 55, and you don't know, there are people who are in their 50s and their 60s and their 70s, and they're still going through so much pain because of an absent father or an absent mother, or like I said, they've been denied access again and again and again concerning a situation. But I'm here to say that it's not the end of the world. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you so much, every one of you, for joining me live. Queen Eufoma, Chinwe, all of you, thank you, thank you, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. My tongue is always twisting. Thank you so much for taking time this afternoon to be with me. And it's the Real Daddy God Show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And have a good rest of the afternoon. Bye. My name is Anastasia Macdonald. Bye, everybody. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye. Bye. Love you too, Queen Chiwe. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye for the last. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.